Now, one thing you were talking a lot about is that basically you're espousing a philosophy that there are problems. Those need to be solved. We can't just ignore them, which I think is a stereotype that goes with the red team and libertarians and things like that, the Tea Party, that they kind of this ignoring the problems. But you're talking about that we need to help people. We need to make the efforts. And one of the things that Sarah and I were talking about earlier is sometimes it seems like in the ads or when candidates are talking, they're talking about the same problems and they want to solve the same things. And now I've been in campaigns before, mainly for the blue team, all cards on the table. And a lot of things you're saying are things that those people are worried about. But then the moment you say cut government spending or cut these programs, they jump off your bandwagon. So my question to you is, you kind of have the same worries that they do. You have exactly the same kind of care for them. You use words like compassion and love and stuff. What would you say to those kind of diehard blue team people? How would you get them to jump off their ideology, as you said, and go on to your vote?
Interestingly enough, you bring up a fantastic point. I've actually said more than once and throughout my campaign, I think there are really good people on both sides. I think there are really good people fighting to try and improve the system and improve people's lives. But how do I get them to understand that the libertarian is a little bit different? I'm trying to frame these conversations so that they make sense. I've done my homework. I could quote red team arguments, word for word. I listened to Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity, and I thought I was getting the real deal, and they were explaining how things really were. And then I started listening to Ron Paul. And I started listening to other libertarians, and I started to realize I'm not being told the truth. I'm being lied to. And for a lot of the time, I'm being lied to by people who've been lied to and don't understand the true system and how it works. So, for example, a great example of this is property taxes. You want to help the poor? Here's how you help the poor. You need to create a stable household. When we pay property taxes, we are always simply renting our home from the government. We need to encourage the poor to buy a home, pay off the home, and settle down. So that when you lose your job, at the very least, you still have your shelter. You may have to change other parts of your life, but you don't have to worry about a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 property tax bill continuing to be built up. But because we have a Federal Reserve with the interest rate almost at zero, literally almost at zero, you had a housing bubble. Well, that didn't help the poor. That didn't help our senior citizens. Every time your housing prices in your neighborhood went from $200,000 to $250,000, you just saw an increase in your property taxes. That's not good for a senior citizen on Social Security on a fixed income. We have to stop this ridiculous idea of tying a property tax to the value of a home. So that people stop, settle down, buy a home, pay it off. We spend too much time thinking the only end in life is to work. We work. Whatever, this is actually a manifestation of the Industrial Revolution. Before this, people didn't work nearly this hard. They didn't really work. They actually enjoyed life. They pursued their own interests. They tried new things. And we don't have time for that. We're too busy running around and working 50 hours a week, driving in the car 10, and then spending the other 6 at our kids' football game.
Now, that is a philosophy I can get behind.
Yes. Well, and you used to kind of bat for the red team. So what was it that made you realize, I actually don't really agree with a lot of this? And then what made you kind of split off to libertarian?
Did you become Ron Paul's homie?
Yeah, I became Ron Paul's homie. Actually, it's funny. Back in college, I was the chair of the College Republicans, and I was hanging out one night talking with the chair of the College Democrats. We got on the topic of marijuana. And I said, I smoke pot. And he says, oh, really? I got a buddy that, is a mutual friend of ours, nickname's Fugazi, and he said, you want to go get stoned? Go see him? Yeah.
Where's Fugazi right now? Let's call him.
And so he called me and says, I got somebody, I just found out this guy smokes. So we get to the door and we open it up and he's like, whoa, the chair of the College Republicans is here. Wow. And so we were talking. He says, how does this match up with you? And I said, I think I'm actually more libertarian than I am Republican. Look, my mom's gay, and I've never really had a problem. When I found out, obviously it was difficult. She's leaving my father and the divorce was enough. Then to find out she was gay was tough. And I said, look, I'm okay with whatever choice you have in your life. Just don't ask me to participate with it, with that personal choice. Now, eventually, I opened up to more and more ideas, but it's actually a very libertarian thing to say. Libertarians are classically liberal. Classical liberal means I don't have to agree with your lifestyle, but as long as you're not harming my life, liberty, or pursuit of happiness, do whatever you want. In fact, we believe that the diversity of that actually creates great things in our society. And I found that I've actually been very consistent with libertarian ideals most of my life, including the times when I came down here to Madison and smoked pot with the guys on top of their apartment complex. And I wasn't being fair to myself, and I wasn't being honest with the world about what I really believed. And so my big epiphany, though, came back in 2012. I served on the platform committee for the Red Team, and I sat in a conference room in Green Bay, and I said, look, we need to tell our politicians that Social Security, for example, this thing is fundamentally unstable. This thing is in terrible, terrible shape. They stole your money, by the way. If you're a senior citizen looking forward to retirement or on retirement, they stole your retirement. Social Security's gone. What you think is a lockbox is a filing cabinet with pieces of paper that say special U.S. Social Security Treasury bonds. And they took the money, they moved it in the general budget, and they spent it. It's gone. It's absolutely gone. The only way they get it is to re-tax people or to print the money, which means you're going to have more inflation. But it's gone. And I said, we need to put this language in here. You guys got to fix this. You guys, this thing is totally screwed up. We need to take the lead. And they were just literally apoplectic over the idea that Bob will lose the election. I said, when do we start telling people the truth? And they didn't want to tell the truth. So I decided, you know what, fundamentally, you guys are never going to do the right thing. And I looked around and I said, who is going to do the right thing? And the Libertarians, being a principled party, we have a set of principles. All of our candidates are going to follow it. And so I got involved with the Libertarians. I believed most of what they believed in to begin with, and they were telling the truth.
Do you think there'll be like a rise, I guess, in third parties now? Because Wisconsin is so polarized to begin with. How do you think having, your party and the People's Party, do you think that will increase voter participation because they feel like, oh, there's another viewpoint out there? Or do you think they just won't because the state is so polarized?
One of the things that I discovered when I started working with the party was that there was a level of dysfunction because most of these were good people who just kind of didn't fit in the red team or the blue team. They were libertarian, but there hadn't been someone to bring it into the 21st century. So I got involved at the state level. I wrote the campaign plan this year. I've got 11 candidates on the ballot around the state. In 2016, my goal was to have 50 around the state. And this is a pivotal time in libertarian and third-party history. The only choice you've got this year, is whether or not you participate in this revolution. This will be the year that people will look back. They will look back at this 50 years from now and go, 2014, that was the turning point. I voted libertarian that year. You can proudly say you voted libertarian if you'd like, but make sure you walked in the ballot and actually did it.
Now, in terms of switching from the red team, as Sarah asked, to libertarian, did Atlas Shrugged and Ayn Rand have anything to do with that? I was hoping that would pop up somewhere in there. Like, you're smoking pot, you started reading Ayn Rand, and the world changed.
Actually, I can't read Ayn Rand. That woman does not know how to get to a point.